guys? My name is John Bautista, and you are listening to the Marriage Savvy Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be bringing back Kim for the second half of our two-part series, Can My Marriage Be Saved, or Is It Time to Let Go? We are asking Kim today to discuss some of the nuances that a discernment counselor specifically brings to the table of a therapy session. In these types of sessions, people are really figuring out, man, can I stay in this, or if it's best to move forward by moving on. Coming up on today's show. The Marriage Savvy Podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be used to diagnose, treat, or act as medical advice. Always seek the advice of your primary care physician, mental health professional, or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition and or mental illness. Hey, Kim.
Hi, John.
It's good to see you again.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Also, it's just nice to know that you're in Texas.
It is nice to be in Texas. It's also not 100 degrees. It's only 89.
Yeah. Yes, a breezy 89. Well, we are back finishing off this two-part series on Can My Marriage Be Saved, or Is It Time to Let Go? Let's jump right back in. Okay, so I think that a lot of clients would be curious on how the discernment process even provides clarity for people that are going through this.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because, you're married to somebody for years and you think you know them really well and they know you really well. And what is frequently true is that people think they're being very clear in what they're asking for their spouse to change or what they're not happy with. And what we find oftentimes is that in an effort to not hurt someone's feelings, or maybe you're a peacemaker and you don't want to rock the boat or whatever, you might not be being as direct as you think you are. And discernment with a really skilled counselor helps to bring a different level of honesty in the room than a lot of couples have experienced in quite a while. When you start to disconnect in the marriage, one of the things that turns off really quickly is vulnerability and real transparent honesty. And so you start to self-protect rather than to share those parts of yourself. And so discernment is a great way to create a safe place, safe space where people can be really honest and direct, because this is the time.
Right.
This is the time to be really honest and direct about how you've walked on eggshells for so long, or how you have been disappointed or disappointing, what it really is like to live with you day in and day out, what you miss about the relationship when it was good. And so creating space to have those raw, honest, vulnerable conversations in a non-blaming, non-critical, non-shaming way oftentimes is enough to crack open hearts. If there's anything left in there, that's oftentimes when it can emerge.
Yeah. How does a counselor do that? Because I think that people might say, well, like, what's the difference between that and having a couples therapist who's trying to do the same thing? Like, what about discernment in the counselor or coach's role allows for a more vulnerable space for that kind of intimacy?
In couples counseling, the focus is different. We talked about this before. It is all about connection. It is all about opening yourself up. In discernment, it is about getting to helping you clear the fog. When was the relationship good? What was good about it? At what point did it shift? How long did you allow things to go on because you didn't have good boundaries, or you weren't very good at communicating it, or your partner just didn't care? Like, how long were those periods where things weren't righted when they could have, should have been? And what was your role in that as well? And so as far as a discernment counselor is a couples counselor. right? It's the focus of what you're doing that's different. And they're trained, a discernment counselor is trained to hold the hope for both couples. Or he is trained to look at the individual aspects of both parties in a way that helps them to kind of even entertain the idea of ending the marriage or putting a pause on everything and creating some space until, other decisions can be made. And so oftentimes if you go into a couples counselor, and this happens, if you're doing couples counseling with someone and you start to realize there's some ambivalence, somebody is not showing up, they're not doing the assignments, they're not moving the needle when they're not in counseling, what's going on? We will shift into discernment in the middle of regular counseling,
Oh,
because what we're doing is we're like, why are you out? What's happening? Why are you shutting down or zoning out on the relationship? So what we're doing at that point is, are you entertaining the idea that you're in the wrong marriage? Let's talk about that. Like, stop being afraid. Like, the best way I know to give this analogy, when you're working with somebody who's suicidal or who's had suicidal tendencies, a therapist knows to talk about suicide. That's not going to make someone want to kill themselves. That's
right.
going to help them talk about all the things going on that they can't talk about anywhere else,
Hmm.
right? But their family members and their friends are like, let's not talk about suicide because that might make them want to kill themselves, right? So we're going to
Right.
avoid the topic, right?
Right.
The same thing with discernment counseling. It's like, let's not be afraid to talk about what it might look like to move toward divorce. That doesn't make you want to move toward divorce. That just helps you dig and stir up all those feelings and fears in there so we can like bring them to the surface and deal with them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Something that you said last episode, what you're telling me reminds me of that. You said looking at our relationship in a forensic kind of way.
Yes.
And forensics is very like inductive to where you're going in, you're trying to piece together the clues
Hmm.
that brought out this scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a process. Something got you to this place of, I am considering whether or not I even want to be married. Like, something got you there. And oftentimes it's a slide, you slid into this space. And I want to know at what point things started to turn. That's the forensic part. What was happening? What wasn't happening? What gave you that feeling? And so, because that's where the healing can happen if it's going to happen. And listen, not every client. So, there was a couple that I did discernment with. If they had divorced without discernment, it would have been the ugliest, most expensive divorce. The Dallas attorneys would have been doing a dance for this couple. In fact, one of them was like, "Don't go talk to a therapist. We're talking millions of dollars in play,
Whoa.
right? And fighting, and the more they fight and the uglier it gets, the more the attorney fees are, right?" So they came in and they did discernment. They ended up still divorcing, but it was amicable. They ended up having a very amicable divorce and very minimal attorney fees, still co parenting, still treating each other with dignity and respect because they were able to work through all of the pain that ended their marriage. They, you know, one of the partners was just not willing to go back and into that marriage and revive it. But both parties had enough clarity and empathy and realized that they're both responsible for where the marriage was. And it I'm not going to say they left best friends, but their attorney's like, what in the world is, I've never seen divorced people act this way. And so, yeah. So, I mean, that happened. I don't
I
know
do
what
have a
else.
question for you.
Go ahead.
Would you be willing to share something that you looked at forensically in your relationship at the time whenever you were trying to figure out what went wrong
With me
with
and
you and
John?
yeah.
Oh, sure. It was, yeah, it was the attachment. stuff for me. It was realizing that my attachment style is if I feel like I'm not being heard or validated or listened to, I will turn away and shut out. I will walk away. And so I had been walking away emotionally in very like micro ways for a really long time. And John wasn't even aware of all the ways that I was disconnected.
What do those look like?
What did it look like for me to shut off?
Yeah, in those small ways.
Yeah, so it might look like I'm going to stop asking, I'm just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. John has a lot of ADD, and so, or ADHD, or whatever the flavor is at the moment of what they refer to that. But I felt like he dropped the ball a lot. And so rather than learning how to navigate through that with dignity and respect for both of us, I developed a lot of contempt for him and would just stop relying on him as an equal partner. But I also stopped treating him like one. So I became more maternal. I became more one up, what I call one up, you know, and felt justified in doing it.
That's really interesting because, like, a lot of people would say, well, you're just, operating in your independence, and that's good for you. Like, you're just operating in, well, if somebody can't do it for me, I can do it for myself. Like, no problem.
Hmm.
But you're saying that there's something unhealthy about that whenever you're in a situation like this.
Well, yeah, because one, I wasn't talking to him about it. It was a reaction to feeling hurt and resentful. I
Mm.
didn't do that out of the for independence. Like I'm this independent person, I can take care of my own stuff. I was doing it from a place of victimhood. I'm not this isn't fair. I have to do all this stuff. You're getting off easy. I'm the one that's having to carry more of the load. That kind of thing without learning how to get in there like an adult and negotiate through these things. I didn't know how.
Whenever you try to take control of, well, if it's not going to be done for me, then I'm just going to do it myself.
Hmm.
Would you say that taking control even stirred the contempt?
Yes. You know, there is an idea in couples work, and this is so true. And when you are unhappy for a long period of time, you start to build a caricature. I think we've talked about this before together, you and I. You build this caricature of who your partner is, and it's really negative. It's this overblown, over dramatized version of them that's not real, but it's real for the person who's carrying that,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so you have to be willing to see who your partner is again and not who you've made them out to be in your mind. Those traits are there, but that doesn't mean that you're giving your partner a fair shake in it.
Yeah.
So it's being willing to test those.
You'd have to be willing to be wrong.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people in this situation, if they're asking for a divorce, they feel fully justified in whatever because of their uncomfortability.
Yes.
How do you help somebody, go from a position of, I'm right in asking this. I'm just doing this because my partner's asking me to do this, but like the way that I see him is the correct way
Hmm.
because this is what I've experienced.
We try to challenge that and break through that. And sometimes you can do that a couple ways. One is where have you lacked gratitude for the things you should have had gratitude for or could have had gratitude for? That will break that. And the other thing that'll break that is realizing your own traits.
Mm.
Humility will break it.
So you would ask a person to take an inventory
Hmm.
of their own actions and behaviors, and
Hmm.
hmm,
Yeah, it's hard.
yeah, that's really
It's really hard. It is hard.
you're going into a session. All right, these are all the things that I've messed up with.
It's like I don't want to talk about myself. I want to talk about why my partner's a jerk. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about how you're a jerk. Let's talk about what you were doing that was jerky.
Like, imagine this session. Yeah, all right, guys. Well, as we begin, let's talk about how you're a jerk.
I know. Couples work is so hard. It is so hard. There's always something going on in the room.
Hey, John, what did you learn in therapy? I learned that I'm a jerk.
And I learned my partner's a jerk too.
Yeah, both of us are. Well, you know what? That does equal the playing field.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's like I said, you're both in it.
Yeah.
There's hardly ever a victim in a marriage. Hardly ever. That doesn't mean we don't have moments when we've been victimized or moments when our partner treated us poorly. But as far as the whole marriage, being in the marriage, you're both in it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to end on a good note, or not
Sure.
a good note, a more positive note, because I think that discernment counseling is always a really tough thing to talk about. But there are some times to where a really good and positive outcome is experienced by some couples. So, can you talk about one of those couples?
Yeah, I mean, lots of times good outcomes come. And so one of my favorites happened. It's probably been 5 or 6 years. They are one of my favorite couples. And the reason they are is they were both open to hearing hard things. They were bright, intelligent people, professionals. Um, one of them had an affair. It was very, very painful for the other. I'll just say he had the affair. And her family and friends were telling her, you need to end this, you need to leave. And she didn't know that she wanted to leave. And she didn't know that she wanted to stay. And he didn't know that you know how you usually have one leaning in and one leaning out? They were
Right.
both like not sure, which is unusual.
Interesting.
And so we did discernment where we agreed that that neither one were ready to make a decision to stay or go. So we agreed that by default we were just going to meet. We were going to work on couples work of increasing vulnerability. We weren't going to have date nights and have more sex because we were recovering from an affair. And so we did a lot of affair recovery and um, rebuilding trust, atoning, and then learning how to reconnect. And they had two young kids, and this has been 5 or 6 years now, I guess. I still get like they'll take these second, third, and fourth honeymoon type trips, and they'll send me postcards. Like,
Really?
they are so crazy in love. It's almost sickening to watch for people that don't know. They're like, it's so much sugar, I'm getting a cavity, but I love it. They are my favorite couple because they were both open to hearing hard things, and
Yeah.
they were more committed to their children and what was best for their kids. So they were real clear than they were on leaving or staying. And so that helped them make some decisions. Like, our kids deserve us to give this space and time, right? And they just are doing so well. They are doing so well. So they're
And
my
they send
favorite.
postcards,
Yeah,
even
and
even to this day.
they'll send me chocolate at Christmas and fruit boxes, and they don't have to do
Wow.
that. Please don't send me. But they were so appreciative. We worked together for probably 2 years weekly to help them get through that hard time. And now I maybe see them once every year, maybe once a year, maybe once every
Really?
two, where they just check in. They want to make sure they don't ever get into that space again. So
Hmm.
they will come when they get to a place where they're feeling like maybe we need some help to talk through some of things. And so, yeah, they're one of my all-time favorites.
That is cool, Kim. I didn't know that you were getting chocolate turtles yearly on a
I
yearly basis.
know. I know. I love it.
I love it. Cool. Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks, John. Hope you have a great week.
Thanks, you too. All right, everybody. That was our show for today. And just to reflect on it a little bit, man, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of expertise to navigate that kind of process with a couple. So if you guys are interested in more information about the Marriage Rescue Program and about discernment counseling, feel free to go to www.themarriageplace.com. In our resources tab, you're going to find a manual, an ebook that Kim wrote herself, available for free to anyone who downloads it. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. I hope that we see you on the next episode of the Marriage Savvy Podcast. Stay savvy out there. Peace.